Attention, please.
This uploading is only for educational purpose.
No intention to infringe copyrights.
Learning English with subtitles GPITRAL.
Follow us.
Dummy world, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Steve. Wakey, wakey, JK. Another crash test week for our crash test dummies. Their mission, to destroy the indestructible, to defeat the invincible, living the dream and testing to destruction.
An explosion hurls Steve and Dan through the air. The crash test dummy Jake lands on them.
Steve, Dan, and Jake are the crash test dummies!
A crash test dummy postman posts a letter into somebody's house.
Daybreak, at the start of another quiet week in Dummy World.
The orange crash test van drives out of the driveway.
But in the house at Crash Test Corner, another week of mayhem is about to begin. From big bangs, to hot shots, dummy cannonballs, to the world's biggest bowling ball. It's 7 days of Crash Test craziness. But before all that, this.
A warning sign flashes in front of Steve and Dan.
Our crash test dummies always use safety equipment.
Hey.
And sometimes call in their stunt doubles for the really dangerous stuff.
So if you feel like trying any of these stunts yourself, don't bother. Not only would you look stupid, you'd probably end up dead.
It's the first day of the week on the crash test dummies calendar.
Monday. And Dummy World's residents are easing themselves into another week. And in the house, Dan is teaching Steve his new song.
If there was a problem, you had solved it. E major sharp, left squiggle. Got it. Check out my hook while my DJ revolves. This is brilliant! You think that's good? Check out the chorus. Ice, ice, baby. Dan. Ice, baby. Dan, that's not your song. That's Ice, Ice, Baby by Vanilla Ice. You ripped him off. I know it's Ice, Ice, Baby by Vanilla Ice. It's a metaphor for my question, how ice cold do you have to be bulletproof? No, they ain't having it, Dan. It's too tenuous. Do you want to do it anyway? Fair dues, to the bunker? To the bunker. Let's go, yeah.
Steve and Dan put on their orange overalls and head down to the bunker.
The boys are heading down to the bunker to see how thick a block of ice would have to be to stop a bullet. First, they're going to fire a bullet into a 10-centimetre block.
Someone pass me my shooter. Aggression received.
Steve loads the gun.
Steve's firing .44 Magnum bullets from a Ruger hunting rifle. Will the ice keep its cool, or will the melon get mashed? It's a great way to make a watermelon slushy, but not enough to stop a bullet. Time to up the antifreeze.
Hey, well, we obviously need a bigger piece of ice. Now let's try it with this.
Okay, now to my keen eye, that is precisely 25 centimetres thick.
Right on the money, Dan, as per usual.
Cheers.
Anyway, let's blow the H2, oh my God, out of it.
Don't forget the melon.
There she blows.
This block of ice is over twice as thick as the last one, but can it really protect the melon from an 800 miles per hour slug of hot lead?
Steve fires the rifle at the block of ice.
Of course not. You're going to have to keep your assets even more frozen than that, boys.
Look at that, ruined it. And the beautiful melon is juiced everywhere. But we've got to continue testing.
We must.
Let's get glacial.
Steve and Dan lick the large ice cube.
This block of ice looks like it could stop an ocean liner, but it's 75 centimeters thick. Can it stop a speeding bullet? As soon as Steve's finished tormenting Dan, the dummies will put it to the test.
Steve loads the rifle once more and shoots at the ice. Half the ice cube shatters under the force of the bullet, but it does not penetrate.
The ice has finally stopped the bullet in its tracks. So how cold do you have to be bulletproof?
Yes, nailed it! Defeated! The bullet has been stopped!
With a measuring tape, Dan measures how far the bullet went through the ice.
Let's see where the bullet is. So that is 35 centimetres from the back. Do the maths.
It means that it actually stopped about 40 centimetres in. So 40 centimetres is how ice cold you need to be bulletproof.
But Steve, who would actually hide behind a massive block of ice if they expected a bullet to come at them?
Dan, these are dangerous times we're living in, you know, polar bears, as penguins. David Blaine? True. Shazam.
A replay shows the bullet penetrating the ice and the melon exploding.
Interesting.
Crash test telly time, and Jake settling down for a little bit of power tool nostalgia. I love 100 greatest power tools in the world ever. At number 64, the Power Hammer.
The power hammer is beautiful. I mean, it really is a beautiful instrument.
Dressed as a builder, Dan plays guitar with the power hammer.
MC Hammer had that song, Please Hammer, Don't Hurt Him. He wasn't talking about himself. Talking about the power hammer.
Using the power hammer, Steve crushes a brick on the ground. He then holds the hammer above his head in excitement.
I think I was going through a two-tone phase at the time. Dan was heavily involved with experimental wallpapering.
Now, I was using some sort of glue. It obviously was high strength, the sort of stuff tramps could only dream of.
Dan had somehow managed to paste himself to the wall.
Wearing a black jacket and tie, Steve strolls over to Dan, who's glued to the wall.
I get the power hammer, and I start going at him. I'm going at him. Now he's screaming and going, oh, Steve, you're hurting. Oh, well, Dan, don't stick yourself to the wall.
Dan eventually falls off the wall.
You know, it's one of those situations. I took him off the wall. I'm happy to do that for him because he ain't got anybody else. He's adopted.
Steve walks away from Dan, who is crying on the floor. Jake turns off the TV. On the Crash Test Dummies calendar, the day is Tuesday.
Tuesday in Dummy World. Time to take in the great outdoors. But in the house, it's poker faces all round as the lads enjoy a serious card game.
You think you got me, don't you, Dan? Think you can read me like a book, but you don't know what's coming. I've got something for you. It could all change on the turn of the next card.
You think you can intimidate me, Steve?
What? I can't hear a word you're saying.
Sorry. I said, you think you can intimidate me, Steve? Spin me around, fly me upside down. But at the end of the day, you're going down. Hear that, did you?
Is that right, is it?
Yeah, hear that, did you?
Is that the way you like it, is it?
Hear that, did you?
Oh, you're whispering now?
Yeah, I'm whispering, Rick. Deliberately whispering.
Well, I'm going to speak louder so you can hear me.
Your ears. Oh, yeah, a bit scared of you.
Have that.
Steve and Dan place giant cards on a table, one after another. Steve plays with the chewing gum in his mouth.
Snap! Ain't that, you loser?
Oh, you were lucky. Right, let's have another game.
Another game? Steve, you can't handle another game.
I'll handle another game, mate. You get him out there. Hang on, Dan. It's 12 o'clock. You know what that means. To the wardrobe!
The wardrobe? Sounds like an imminent costume change to me.
Steve exits the wardrobe dressed as a biker. Dan is dressed as a cowboy.
Hey, looking good, Easy Rider.
Tell me about it.
Nice helmet.
Thanks. Hey, not only does it look good, the science behind this thing will blow your mind. That's after it saved it, of course. These things are designed for one thing and one thing only, to protect your bonnet in case of a crash.
Well, you know what we've got to do with it, don't you, Steve?
Test it to the edge of destruction.
Hey, got it in one.
In their costumes, Steve and Dan start to dance to the music.
Hey, let's go.
Hey, hang on a minute, let's get changed there. Great idea. Come on, right there. Ridiculous.
Steve and Dan get dressed and head into the camper van.
The helmet is hard as nails. Impact-absorbing polystyrene and an unbreakable visor mean it's one of the safest money can buy. The dummies plan to test the front, the back, and its visor. But will the helmet come through the boys' test without any cracks?
Dan throws Steve the silver helmet.
Is that tight? No, good. You just doing that for fun? No. Let's do it. What are you doing?
First, Steve plans to test the helmet's impact-resistant outer shell by dragging Dan along the racetrack behind the bike. Unsurprisingly, it's a plan Dan isn't too fond of.
Steve does wheelies on the motorbike.
No way.
While Steve plays Evel Knievel, Dan does swap places with Jake. Not that Steve will notice.
Let's go. Ready, Dan?
Jake's hand lifts up. Steve starts to drag Jake along the tarmac. Dan looks on from the van and shakes his head.
During a typical accident, a helmet will make contact with the road for a fraction of the time the dummies are going to drag it for. So will half a mile of serious wear be too much for it to take?
What happened to you?
Well, obviously I wanted to do it, but Jake did as well. Who am I to stand in the way of a dummy and his dream?
A coward. That's what you
I'm
are.
not a coward.
It's a
He
coward.
wanted to do it.
Let's have a look. Right. We've got some scratches here, quite a few, but not a single crack. Helmet's intact.
Very impressive, Steve. However, what if someone fell on the top of their head as opposed to the back?
Oh, you had to ask, didn't you? Come here, follow me.
Coming up! Dan and Steve use Jake to take helmet testing to the next level.
All will be revealed.
And everything else that happens in the rest of the week.
Hey, calm down, mate. It's all the excitement.
But first, Jake's been in his toolbox again. Which sexy model has he been photographing this week? Find out after the break.
End of part 1.